the show, Pulp, later on. OK, let's see who else we've got on the show tonight. I'm Phil. We've got a fabulous lineup for you. My first guest is a titan of British broadcasting, world broadcasting, in fact. It is, of course, Sir David Attenborough, ladies and gentlemen. Right, we're going now. I don't want this going to your head, Sir David, but that got a bigger reception than Bubble Wrap Week. As I said, Sir David is a great broadcaster. He's a great educator as well in all things to do with the environment. He's also been described as the most travelled man in history. Would you agree with that, that estimate?
Rubbish.
Oh, OK. Let's hope you give longer answers when you get out here. Sir David Attenborough, ladies and gentlemen. He will be my first guest ever on the couch this evening. Thrilled to have you with us on the BBC. Here he is, though, to talk to us now this evening, Sir David Attenborough, ladies and gentlemen. How lovely to see you again, and thank you so much. It's always a thrill for me when you come on the show and agree to be interviewed, so thank you so much. You're just back, you're just back from China, just recently returned from China?
China, yeah.
And been filming out there, or is this a holiday?
Yeah.
OK, what series is this for?
Fossils. Feathered dinosaurs.
Wow.
Yeah, wonderful.
Because the birds, I believe, they have more in common with dinosaurs than most of the other animals.
They are descendants of dinosaurs.
I don't believe that, I'll be honest with you.
Get off.
Well, I've seen dinosaurs in films, and they're much bigger for a start.
Have you ever been chased by an ostrich?
Actually, you know what? I have.
There you are. Then you believe it.
So did dinosaurs have feathered
Absolutely.
background? All of them, even like the T-Rex?
Not all of them. Not all of them. The big brontosaurs didn't. Wow. But the smaller ones did. And you've got these wonderful fossils in which you see... If you saw just the bones, you would say that's a dinosaur. But they've now got specimens in which you can see the imprint of the feathers all around.
And is this a new interest of yours, the whole idea of fossils and tracing animals back that far? You've always been
No,
into...
it was actually one of my first, really. I was brought up in the Midlands and I looked for fossils as a kid, and I've never stopped, really.
And did you have a fossil collection when you were a young man?
I have a few. A few legal ones.
Oh.
Yeah.
You smoked all the rest, I imagine. So this is for another TV series. Yeah. What a productive period this has been for you, because there are 3 shows that have been on at the moment, or 2 are still on.
I'm afraid so, yeah.
And 2 more coming this year, is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Wow, incredible. I mean, that's a remarkable workload for anyone. But...
When the offers are there, you have to take them, don't you?
Tell me about it. And so the one we have on at the moment, Africa, we see there. You're doing the one in China with fossils. What's the other show that you're making this year, the one that you haven't filmed yet, or that we haven't seen yet?
There's one about fossils, as you say, and there's one about insects, which I'm doing.
OK, and where are you filming that? All over the world?
All over the world, yeah.
And what sort of new angle will you take on insects?
Yeah, well, that's in 3D.
I don't know if you know this, you probably don't, but Sir David Attenborough is, I think, the only person to have won a BAFTA in the black and white television category, back in the days when it was all black and white. In colour, he's also won a BAFTA for a high-definition programme and a 3D television programme. And I think that shows the span of your career and the quality of your output, the fact that it's so good. So, insects in 3D. And yet you're, I mean, I guess you're an animal... would you call yourself an animal lover, or is it just an academic interest?
I'm absolutely fascinated by animals, that's right. I mean, the word lover is a sort of, you know, funny old word. Well, it is, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, I don't love snails, particularly. No. But they are very interesting, actually. Have you ever seen snails mating?
You know what, I've probably seen them on one of your shows, yes, doing that kind of thing, but
slugs are even more exciting.
I saw one creature...
Yeah.
See, I'm a bit worried about the level of enthusiasm you're showing for the mating habits of snails. But when you're filming, do you get to see that firsthand, that kind of thing, or is it always you see what the cameraman's brought back? Oh,
nearly always it's what the cameraman's done. I mean, I sometimes have the privilege of writing the scripts, you know, and I say, you know, close up, lion as it approaches something or other scene. Yeah. And they say, how do you expect to get that? And I said, that's your problem, mate.
They do get some incredible shots.
The cameraman of the heroes. Yeah.
I'm amazed that even now, you know, you think about the amount of footage that Sir David has introduced to us, you're still finding new things, you're still capturing new things on film, aren't you? Tell us some of the new discoveries that you've made or your team have made for you to present.
Well, they discovered I say they discovered, but they learned about a wonderful place in Africa that should be nameless, where rhinos assemble in 6, 8, 10 pairs. I mean, just wonderful. And in the moonlight, wonderful sight. And they used starlight cameras and got wonderfully evocative images.
So presumably before this they didn't know that they gathered in that way?
They didn't know. And then they behave in this gentle way. Well, you saw that little bit with that little blind. That sweet little thing was born blind, you know, which is actually apparently quite common. And they now have an operation whereby you can cure the blindness in a young baby rhino. And that's, when he's a little bit older, he'll go for that.
Wow, I wouldn't have known that. How difficult is it? You know, you mentioned the bravery and certainly the dedication of the cameramen you work with. How risky is it, what they're doing? I mean, presumably sometimes they are in very real danger.
For me, hardly at all. But the cameramen, they got to start with, they got a camera, you know. And the funny thing is, when you're looking down a camera, you get absorbed in the program, and you forget and you forget that it's going on down there. And even when it starts to run towards you, you think this is a terrific shot, and you suddenly look up, and it's only just about 5 yards away. No, they are the heroes. I mean, amazing.
And in the new, I saw the episode of Africa, the first one I saw was in the Congo, in the rainforest in Congo, and I saw that there was a scene, your cameraman almost got knocked out of a tree by an elephant.
Yes, yeah.
At night, didn't he?
Well, they're very bright animals, very clever animals, and the elephant knew he was up there and didn't like it.
Do you know what he didn't like about it? Is it just because he was in his territory?
He just didn't like it. I mean, elephants are like that. They've got very different personalities. They can be very cranky. I mean, the last programme that's coming up, which is about conservation, it's shot on the slopes of Mount Kenya. And the elephants, since time immemorial, used to graze down in the lowlands, and then in the summer they would go up into the highlands on the higher slopes of Mount Kenya. And then a few years ago, they built a big road right across their track, in which lorries were going. And the elephants were causing terrible trouble. I mean, some were killed and so on. So one or two conservationists said, why don't we build a tunnel going under the road? And others said, no, it never worked. But they built it, and all the elephants, within like a fortnight, learnt to go under through the tunnel, except one cranky old bull. And you could see him, you know, he said, I'm buggered if I'm going up. And so he stayed down there, knocking down the plantations.
So he just refused to...
That's typical of elephants. They're very different characters.
Bloody-minded.
Yeah, bloody-minded.
Well, like humans, I suppose.
Yeah, that's right.
And that brings me to a different question, because occasionally people obviously ask you questions about the state of the planet and whether you believe in climate change, whether you believe that that's happening, whether you believe that the preservation of animals is necessary, or we should let them fend for themselves. Would you save humans over other animals? Do you think the planet would be better off without us?
If we behave better, we're capable of behaving better than we're doing at the moment. We aren't fully aware of the consequences of what we're doing most of the time. And if we behave better, we have the power to make everything better for everything else, which is more than you can say for almost any other species. So we have the potential of making things much better. At the moment, we're making them much worse. So it's time we wised up.
It's time we took responsibility for action. I think I don't think anyone would disagree with that, and it's lovely to hear it from you. David's new series at the moment, or one of the new series, but the one that's just started, is called David Attenborough's Natural Curiosities. It's on Tuesdays on the Eden Channel. I saw the first episode the other night. Yeah. Fabulous. And this is a first for you in a way as well, isn't it? It's the first time you've shot a series entirely in the UK.
It's a nice mixture, really, because it not only talks about animals, but it talks about the history of animals, the discovery of animals, the romance of animals, how animals work, and focused on particular species.
The two animals you look in that episode, and this is on Tuesday nights on the Eden Channel, Tuesdays and Wednesdays, I believe, at 8 p.m. Chameleons. And chameleons, I mean, I love lizards generally, but chameleons fascinate me because, you know, you grow up thinking about them changing their colour, but of course there is so much truth in it. It's not some sort of myth. They actually do change, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
OK, I've got something under my desk for you. Look at this little fella here. Let me pass them over to you. And they're arboreal, so they like to be high, don't they? So I think if I go down low and you put your finger there, look at that, and you've handled these little fellas before, of course. I love the way their hands work. They're kind of like, it's almost like they have two big fingers.
They are among the most beautiful things in the world. Look at that.
Look, he's climbing up onto you there.
Come on.
Look at that.
Look at that.
And they change their colour when threatened, or indeed when they wish to threaten, when they want to impose their will on another animal.
They get angry. If they get angry, they go black. This chap's not in the least angry. And isn't he just one of the most beautiful things? Look at that. Come on, then. You want to travel?
I've got a little tiny fella here. Look at this one here. And so they like to be high, is that right? So if you put him on my shoulder, he'll probably like that, I think. And also he makes for... Oh, no, hold it. Why, he's defying nature, this beast. I think we found it. Look at that. Look at his little... Wow. And they don't cohabitate happily, do they? I believe they like to be on their own if they're...
They are solitary hunters by and large. And, of course, the great thing about them is that they have this fantastic...
I don't know what happened then.
I used to have a tame one, and I used to take him out in the garden in London, and it had this huge tongue, of course, and I used to point him at a fly sitting on a flower, and he'd go, see, and wallop, get the fly.
Wow. We should say, I mean, I'm falling in love with this little fella here. I don't think the feeling's mutual, but we should point out they don't make suitable pets, and these are from a rescue centre. So I think people had them as pet, and they were taken in, and they've been looked after now.
They were born in this country, though. That's the great thing about these.
Their eyes, I believe, are they unique in that their eyes can face in different directions at the same time?
And what's more, they have an extraordinary brain so that it flicks in a matter of microseconds from one eye to the other eye. So it builds up a double picture. So it's can be looking up and looking down at the same time.
He's giving me what we call the stink eye, this one over here. OK, we're going to take a break. Will you join me in saying thank you, not just to our two chameleon friends, but also the one and only Sir David Attenborough.